I always knew I was going to be a mom, but that doesn't mean that I always wanted to be a mom. I grew up the oldest of 4 kids. There was a pretty big age gap between my siblings and I. My sister's 6 years younger than I am. I have a brother that's 12 years younger and a brother that's 14 years younger. Because of the opportunity that I had to get to help out with my siblings, my family would often tease me and call me the second mom and talked about how I was bossy, which they weren't wrong. Due to the age gap, when I would go to the store with my siblings, people often thought that my brothers were my own babies. I'm so grateful for the opportunity that I had to be the oldest in my family because it allowed me to see what motherhood was going to look like and some of the joys and the hardships that would be included in the journey. My husband and I married young. We had both just turned 21, and shortly after, we moved out to Hawaii. When we got there, I wanted to focus on myself, school, and the life my husband and I would be building. I was not interested in having kids because I only focused on what I would lose by having them. About 2 years into our marriage, after starting a successful photography business and supporting my husband through college while being a full-time student, I felt like my life was going to change. My husband and I had gone to church, and while there, I had this feeling we should start trying for kids. On our walk back to the apartment, I brought this up with my husband, and he expressed that he had the same feeling at church that day. We knew that it was time for us to start a family. I was so upset when we had both felt this because I knew it was an answer from God. I went home and threw myself on the bed, and I prayed and I said, I don't want to do it, but I will. I knew I didn't want to have children because it was going to change my body that I was already so insecure about. I knew I didn't want to have children because I would have to give up my free time. I knew I didn't want to have children because it would affect my photography business that I worked so hard to build. I knew I didn't want to have children because I would have to find a different way to do schooling. I knew I didn't want to have children because it was going to be hard. Shortly after that, I got pregnant, and it seemed like all the fears and insecurities started to melt away and were replaced by excitement and a love I can't explain. I love this little child I couldn't see or feel yet. I faced my first trial in motherhood at 16 weeks when walking home after taking a final exam. I began to heavily bleed, and my husband rushed me to the ER. The nurses and the doctors prepared me for the worst. Due to the baby's size and age, there was nothing that we could do. I thought I was going to lose him. Due to the bleeding throughout my pregnancy, I was unable to do certain things like exercising, lifting even slightly heavy objects, or being able to be on my feet for long periods of time. To be honest, I was mad at God. I felt like after doing what he told me to do, I was being punished, and I felt like he left me to deal with it on my own. Despite my doubts and my fears of not being able to keep my little boy, he was born healthy with no complications. I truly didn't believe until the moment he was on my chest crying that I would get to keep him. He was our little miracle baby. Looking back, there were so many miracles that I didn't recognize along the way. 9 months after having our son, my husband felt again that we should have another child. I love my son and the joy he has brought to my life, but this time I was filled with discouragement. Because of the negative effects that having a baby had on my body, I was afraid to do it again. My second pregnancy went much smoother, and I didn't have the complications I had with the first, but had a new set of fears before she came. How can I take care of a toddler and a newborn? Will my son feel like he's being replaced? Will I be able to adequately show them the same amount of love? And will I ever sleep? We were blessed with our sweet baby girl, Liberty, and she's been a bright light and a kind soul in our home. I've been able to adjust to taking care of 2 kids. Hutch has stepped up to the role of being a big brother and loves to help. He loves his sissy so much. and I love them both more than I can explain. And yes, I did eventually get some sleep. Then 4 months after having Liberty, I was walking through the living room on my way to do laundry. For a brief moment, I panicked. Liberty was in her bouncer, Hutch was playing with his cars, but where was my other kid? I quickly realized that I didn't have another kid, and the thought came to my mind, yes you do, and they're ready to come. The next month, I found out I was expecting. This time I wasn't mad or discouraged. I was excited and felt more prepared. Yet I was still worried. This time I was worried about what people would think when they found out how close Liberty was to this baby. I didn't want to be made fun of or people to think badly of me, but it's okay. I didn't owe anyone an explanation as to why I'm having another child. I don't need other people to understand and love my family as long as I do. Throughout my motherhood journey, God has been there the entire time. The only difference was my willingness to let him in and recognize the good he was doing for me. I learned that I need to always talk to God, even if I'm mad at him or don't understand his plan. If the best I can do is yell and cry, that's fine. He'll take it. He just wants to hear from us.